Hey, Mitch.
Oh, hey, Ed, what's going on?
Hey, I thought we could talk about the classic Richard Donner film Ladyhawke.
Ladyhawke.
Yeah,
Huh.
Ladyhawke where there's the hawk in it. That's a lady.
Like Hawk Girl?
No, no,
Like
no, no,
this?
Ladyhawke. It's Michelle Pfeiffer. Look, I can grab my own. Do you want me to grab her?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Uh, Here we go.
Ah, look at
Yeah,
that.
you can do that too.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, go on.
Wow.
Just
Oh,
just just call her.
come here, bird. Birdie, 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 birdie. Come here,
Hey,
birdie,
hey,
birdie.
hey, be a
Woo.
bit
Birdie want a
respectful,
cracker?
okay? You
Why?
you know a
A
boyfriend's a
bird.
real hound.
Ah. Come here, birdie. Who's a good birdie? What's that? Wow.
Let's just start the show. Hi, this is Ed Dollister,
This is Mitch Cha-Cha Halleck.
and welcome to another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If it's your first time here, thanks so much for joining us. If you are a regular viewer, thanks so much for coming back. Mitch, before we talk about today's topic, what can you do to find out a little bit more about our show?
Oh, and to subscribe to this wonderful epic that we're about to talk about, it's as easy as putting an evil spell on a beautiful young woman and turning her into a hawk. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button below, and you will be notified if you hit the bell as well when me and Ed go on another mysterious journey into the past, looking at movies, TV, toys, and more right here on Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure.
That was
That's it.
good. That was almost
You were going to
Shatner-esque.
subscribe. You were going to, I was going to make you subscribe. That's how good that
Wow,
delivery was.
I'm subscribing right now. You know what
I
we are
saw.
talking about today? We are talking about the 1985 sort of not a cult, well, maybe it's a bit of a cult classic, but it didn't really make a big impact when it came out. Richard
No,
Donner's Ladyhawke. Did you see this in cinemas, Mitch?
I did see it in cinemas, Ed. I did indeed. In fact, I was looking forward to it because I thought the premise was really cool. It was a fantasy film. It had Matthew Broderick, who I knew from War Games.
Yes.
It had Rutger Hauer, who I knew from Blade Runner and Night Hawks.
Yes.
And it had a beautiful young actress who I had seen in Grease 2, which was not
Yes.
beautiful. The
And
lovely
Scarface.
and Scar. I never saw Scarface. I don't see gangster movies, but anyway, the amazingly beautiful to this day too. I just saw her last night. Michelle Pfeiffer and Ladyhawke, directed by Richard Donner, who I knew from Superman. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I know. You would think this would be a fantastic hit. Around that time, we've spoken about it in our The Sword and the Sorcerer, Conan the Barbarian, the Excalibur had come out a little
Crawl,
bit
Dragon
earlier.
Slayer. Yeah,
Yep.
Hollywood couldn't stop making these movies. Yeah.
But they did eventually, and this film wasn't a hit when it came out. It cost $20 million to make. It only made $18 million. And I was looking at the guess what made more money than this in the top films of 1985?
Oh, more money than this in 1985. I'm going to say Gremlins was 84.
Yep. Well,
Um,
that was a given.
oh,
Yeah.
Cobra,
I don't know if Cobra did, but
Stallone.
you know what did?
Wow.
Young Sherlock Holmes made more money than this.
We should do that one day because that's
I
a
know we
great.
should.
I
It's a
love
great
that movie.
movie.
But
So,
no,
yeah.
why not? Why not this? I mean, it's just as look, man. The premise of this movie, the action, the excitement. It's just up there with Young Sherlock Holmes. Why
It's a
not?
great romantic movie. I think, maybe people didn't thought it was going to be maybe an action movie, but it wasn't really. There were action elements.
You know
Maybe
what?
yeah.
Now that you just said that, people didn't know what to expect because look, there wasn't a lot of behind the scenes stuff. There was no internet that you couldn't really publicize. All you had was a couple movie posters, a couple ads in the newspaper, maybe a radio ad, and maybe a TV spot, and that's all you had going for you. And at the time, Rutger Hauer was not a household name. Michelle Pfeiffer was not a household name, and Matthew Broderick was kind of a cool guy. And this is before Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
It certainly
So he
was.
was
And guess
not
what? Matthew
what?
Broderick actually had top billing in this film over Rutger Hauer and
Well,
Michelle
over
Pfeiffer.
oh,
And he
well,
wasn't even the first choice, and neither was Rutger Hauer. Do you know who actually was in rehearsals for this movie?
oh, this movie has an interesting casting history. Dustin Hoffman and I was it Kurt Russell?
So Kurt Russell was going to play the Rutger Hauer
Yeah,
character, and he got
the
to
knight.
rehearsals and just something fell
No,
through.
he didn't like the helmet. If you look at,
So
there's a very distinct helmet that Rutger Hauer wears with the three like visors across. And what I had heard is Kurt Russell said, I'm not wearing that." So that's what he balked on that and he left. But the Dustin Hoffman part, he was going to be the thing. Let's talk about it. People don't know what we're talking about. Why would you be watching the show? But
that's right.
it's a story about a knight, Rutger Hauer's character, who falls in love with this beautiful maiden, Michelle Pfeiffer. But there's a jealous bishop or so, and he doesn't want her to go with him. So he puts a spell on her so they can't see each other. So as the sun goes down, Rutger Hauer becomes a wolf, like not a
That's
werewolf,
right.
but a real big black wolf.
Yeah, a black
And then,
wolf.
and at dawn, when his spell ends, Michelle Pfeiffer becomes a hawk that flies around, and so there's only
And they
one brief
never
moment.
they never can meet. They can spend
They can only
all
see each other for a
eternity
second.
together, but
Yeah,
they don't even it's like never can meet.
they
And the
never can
bishop
meet up
is
with each
played
other.
by a wonderful actor who most people would know as Falcon from War Games.
Yeah,
Again
I was
with
going to say the guy from War Games, the other Matthew
John
Broderick.
Wood.
John
Again
Wood, yeah.
with Matthew Broderick. And it's a little bit Shakespearean
It is.
in its story. You've got Leo McKern, a great Australian actor who who inadvertently lets the bishop know about their love, and that's what
Yeah,
causes the curse. And
yeah.
he's forever trying to redeem himself and trying to stop to break the curse, which he finally finds
And
out that there
Alfred,
is yes,
go ahead. Go ahead. No, I was
that
going to
there's an
say,
eclipse, and
yeah,
at that moment with the eclipse, that is where that will break the curse if they're both together or on
at the same
hallowed
time, at a
ground or
certain
what have
time.
you. And
Yeah, yeah. I was
so
going to say Alfred Molina. You forgot him.
as the wolf catcher,
Yeah,
wolf
Alfred
catcher
Molina is a
general.
huge. Yes, yeah. What's funny, you mentioned Alfred. You mentioned young Sherlock Holmes. Isn't Alfred Molina the bad guy in that, or am I thinking of the
No,
other guy from
no,
Raiders?
that is Gobler
Anthony
from
Higgins.
it is
Anthony,
from Raiders
yeah.
of the Lost Ark.
But Anthony, going back to I just said his name, Satipo.
Yes,
Sapito.
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina. He's in this movie, yeah. And it's so funny because his career was all over the place. He starts off in Raiders of the Lost Ark in 81. This is 1985. He's got a bigger role. Obviously, he's on screen more. And he's got some, but he still has like I don't know, not ugly, but he kind of like the gruesome looking, brutish
He looks
henchman,
like Satipo's second
long
cousin,
lost
twice
relative.
removed.
Yeah,
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 he
yeah.
does. He's
He's in
got
it
that.
too. But why didn't they get Dustin Hoffman? Because Dustin, and we didn't talk about. So anyway, the knight needs a thief to help him break the curse. And Matthew Broderick boasts that he's the only one who's ever escaped from the prison of Aquila or something, which is this kingdom where this evil bishop guy rules or whatever. And that's why
Which
they
is
got
a
Matthew
brand of
Broderick.
shoes here in Australia as well.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Oh. So, but I'm saying they got Broderick because Dustin Hoffman didn't want to do it, or he was like, I
I'm
can't
not
make
sure
this.
exactly why he was originally on it. Sean Penn was also up for the role
Sean
of
Connery
Philippe
was
the
up for the
Mouse.
role. Sean Connery was up the role as the knight at one point, I heard, but he passed on it too. He's like, I'm not doing this.
And
So
it's I don't know why. It would have been a totally different film, but I think Matthew Broderick, that works really well where he does those asides or breaks
yeah,
doesn't really break
yeah.
the fourth wall, but his little
Close.
when he's talking to God, it adds humor to it without being pulling it out of time. Like it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like it's 80s.
It's
'80s.
he's more modern. He's not like a middle
He
ages
is,
type
but
of
he's still I think toes the line of being within the film.
Well,
Not unlike
what?
the score, which I think
There
is
you
probably
go.
I reckon that is why this film isn't as
Well liked.
didn't do as well
No,
as it could.
no,
It's got a
no. I
synth
tell you,
score.
I was going to say we mentioned it on Dreamscape, or I mentioned it because we talked about how Maurice Jarre did the synthesized music, and there's a certain sound in '80s
Yeah, and I
movies that
was
you
what I
tell.
forgot. I was thinking of
Yeah.
Tangerine Dream, who did it for Legend. They were
Yes.
originally going to do it for Legend, but yeah, this one has got
Yeah.
a
Alan
score.
Parsons project.
He produced the score, and the reason why it's got this score is that when Richard Donner, they were filming in Italy, beautiful
Oh, the scenery is fantastic. Yeah,
and
the
costume
snow, the
design and
mountains.
everything like that is great. um
It's top
he was
notch.
listening to the Alan Parsons project while he was scouting locations, and he found that when he was filming it, he couldn't divorce that sound from the imagery, so that's why he went with it.
Oh,
And I feel like
well,
it does it and it's weird because it for the opening credits,
yeah,
it's not it's a little orchestral, then it goes into that cheesy synthesizer sort of thing,
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah,
it sort of goes back to dramatic
yeah.
for some of the sequences, and then it goes back to the cheesy synthesizer.
Worst, and I know the soundtrack came out. There was a thing you can get it a couple years ago. It's still available. They only printed 3,000 of them.
Is that Entrada or whatever, I think, or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah. I mean, why would you even print 3,000? Because I remember seeing this in the movie theater, and you have these awesome stunt sequences. In fact, another stunt guy, I think Vic Armstrong is on this from Raiders. There's another stunt guy that's in this movie that we know. Was it Vic Armstrong? I can't remember, but there's another well-known stunt person that's in this film. And the music just takes you out of it. Like
Mm.
you're watching the horse rear up, and they're going towards the night. There's action, there's fights and stuff, and you hear this music. It's almost like watching the Batman TV show where they would play like this funky 60s groovy music, It doesn't gel with this at all.
No,
And
it makes it look it's cheap. It seems
it's cheap.
cheap.
Not only this, I'm thinking the Alan Parsons I know, because I remember Alan Parsons, and you could correct me because you're more musically oriented than I am, but wasn't Alan Parsons' project they would pick different types of music, different genre for every album, and that's what it was all about. It was like experimental kind of music, like he'd
I
do a
mean,
50s
they did
doo-wop.
do sort of concept albums and things like that. And
Yeah,
I think,
concept
like
albums. Yeah, right.
Eye in the Sky and all those sort of songs where they had a like a through line in the
Yeah.
albums.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
just it I know they were moving away from those orchestral Jerry Goldsmith and John Williams sort of scores for some films because I suppose.
If I'm telling you, if you take this movie and you get a Jerry Goldsmith or a John Williams and you put that music behind this, I know that's not going to be done, but I actually think that would like make this movie 10 times better. Like people would be like, "Oh,
What
this is a great movie."
You know what they should have just done? Used
But
James Horner's Battle Beyond the Stars.
you should, yeah.
Well, because they use that in
It was in every
Logic.
damn trailer. Yeah. But
So
speaking of music, here's the thing about this movie. The script was around for a long time. Donner has it. He doesn't. This is before Donner does Goonies and Lethal
yep,
Weapon, so he really wasn't the big deal yet. He was still Mr. Superman, and he's been
and the
struggling for a
Omen,
couple of
yep,
features. In The Omen, yeah. So he takes this. He calls in Tom Mankiewicz, who was
yes,
the guy that punched up the script on Superman to make it a little bit lighter and funnier. That's where the Matthew Broderick stuff comes in, the little
mhm.
jokey stuff. I could see Dustin Hoffman pulling this off in but I don't see him being an action hero, but I see him being, like
Yeah.
funny. But the other thing is Mick Jagger. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Mick Jagger, Rolling Stone lead singer Mick Jagger, wanted to be in this movie so much he read for the part as the evil I keep calling him a bishop, but is that what
Yeah,
his
Bishop. Yeah.
title? Yeah. That was supposed to be Mick Jagger.
Wow.
He's the one that pushed this movie to get done, and everybody was on board with it. They even went for costume fittings, and Richard Donner was going for it. And then the execs at Warner Brothers said, "No, you're not having Mick Jagger as the main bad guy." Now, imagine this movie with Mick Jagger in the cast. I don't know. I can't remember a film that Mick Jagger did. I was talking to my friend Jerry about it, and he said, "No, Mick Jagger was in like
He was in Ned
oh,
Kelly, the movie,
he was in
Australian movie. He played
he,
Ned Kelly.
he was in that, but what's the other Werner Herzog, maybe? That director? He said Jagger was in some other really artsy film.
Was he in Free Jack?
Yeah,
Remember that movie
Yeah,
Free Jack?
yeah, he was in Free Jack.
How
Yeah.
did I remember? How the heck did I remember that? I'm sure.
I'm
Well,
scared.
I'll check. If he's not,
We'll have to check because I wait, Free Jack, that's not with Gene Simmons and
no,
Tom
no,
Selleck.
that's with is that Emilio Estevez in Free Jack?
Yeah, it is Mick, I think. It's not David Bowie. Well, whatever. The
Anyway,
studio
David Bowie was in Labyrinth in
that
the same year. Can you imagine
David
that?
Bowie was in that, and Jagger was probably like, "Hey, I
And
want to
you've
do
got
something."
Paul McCartney and Give My Regards to Broad Street, which was the year before.
And yeah, and Jagger wanted to do this movie, and Warner Brothers exec said no, and that's why they got Wood, who's got a brilliant voice. He's
He
great delivery with
does.
that. Oh no, you're not
You
doing,
know,
that
he
really
his
deep.
voice. He is a like a classically trained actor.
Yeah,
His voice every time reminds me of
Die Hard
Patrick
guy.
McNee. No, Patrick McNee. Narrating the opening of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah, that was Patrick. I was just thinking, wait a minute. Long ago, before
Yeah,
the time of then, dun, dun, dun. Yeah, now go watch our Battlestar one if you want to
yeah.
think about
I'll
that.
put a link
So
up to it.
anyway, they do this show, they do this movie, they go to Italy, beautiful costumes, like you say, scenery is fantastic. I watched it the other day before we prepped for this thing.
Me too.
It's
Yep.
oh my god, it's so beautiful. The colors and the scenery. I'm like, wow, this is like they filmed it yesterday instead of almost 40 years ago. But it's just stunning cinematography. Rutger Hauer has got to be at the peak of his career, I think, at this point, because physically he looks good. He's photogenic. Michelle Pfeiffer is gorgeous
Mm-hmm.
in this role. I mean, she's literally, I saw her, I was like, oh my God, you fall in love with her the second she's on the screen. Everything's going good for this movie.
It should work. It just
It
didn't.
doesn't.
Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe it was
No, I said the
publicity.
marketing maybe screwed it up because you hear the word Ladyhawke and you're like, Ladyhawke, Lady Chatterley's lover, Lady sings the blues, Lucky Lady. I mean, Lady and the Tramp. That
Again,
doesn't.
the posters weren't great. There's the there's basically the Drew Struzan poster that they did, which doesn't feature Rutger Hauer. It doesn't really say
No,
anything.
no,
Beautifully drawn. There's the one with Michelle
just the
Pfeiffer
logo.
in a black hood,
Yeah,
and it doesn't
yeah.
really, a lot of text. It doesn't really explain
No,
everything.
I remember the graphics in the newspaper, and it was just like the script, the font they used for the word Ladyhawke, and it was just like you said, a silhouette of like maybe Michelle Pfeiffer's eye or something, or her face, and I'm like, well, what the hell's that?
It
You know,
was it was a bit of a
terrible
shame because
marketing.
it is a fantastic movie. There was no merchandise
Oh God, no, there was not going to
available.
be any merchandise. No, not,
There wasn't even
not
a
even.
novelization that
I
I
was going
could
to say, well,
find.
there's a novelization. No,
I couldn't find one. Nowadays, you can go on Etsy and you can get, like a T-shirt or something like that. But that's about it. Apart from the posters, it
yeah,
is available on Blu-ray. It's on Disney Plus. If you want to watch it,
is
uh,
it?
yeah,
Well,
it
maybe in
is.
your area. It's not on mine.
Okay, yeah, it's on Disney Plus in Australia, so
Yeah.
it's certainly worth watching if you haven't watched it, or like me, I haven't seen it for many years and just watched it the other night, and it's a really a good
I know.
film.
I just remember Rutger Hauer being on that horse with the black suit and everything like that. And I was like,
Yes, and
wow, this.
I do know he was one thing that he was most proud of at the end. He has a dagger, and
Yeah,
he flips the dagger without looking and catches it and throws it, which is really cool. I mean, and think Richard Donner, this came out in April,
yeah,
and just a few months later, Goonies came out. So he was working
right.
on this and Goonies at the same, well, not at the same time, but
Yeah, yeah,
within
yeah,
that
yeah.
same time frame. So obviously Goonies, that was I think the ninth most successful film in 1985, and it was yeah, well, a lot more
Yeah.
successful, that's for sure.
The
So
Lady Hawk. Yeah, so there it is. I mean, we talk about it. It's a misfire by the studio. It's a good movie. Soundtrack sucks. There's no you can't get around that. The music's
yeah,
terrible. And
yeah,
I don't
it's
I, I don't know if the music would have sabotaged this film because you'd have to see it.
no, I know,
It doesn't
but it
help.
just it does it just pulls you out, and I think there's no gravitas to the scenes because it makes it a bit
Mm,
like cheesy, lighthearted, which is not what it is. It's because the performances are all fantastic. They're I
yeah.
mean, I'm sure they didn't think that there's going to be, a Casio tone synthesizer going on in the background while they're
Right. No,
trying to
no.
do
But
that.
it's funny. I
So,
do remember the movie though. As soon as I said Ladyhawke, I was like, oh, I remember. I liked it. I
yeah,
saw it in the theaters. There wasn't many people in the theater with me. I remember seeing it with like 6 people, and it was like
yeah,
a matinee. That's it. You saw it and you forgot about it an hour later. You're like, yeah,
yes,
let's go see Goonies. Let's go see something else.
that's right. So it is well worth watching. And you know what else is well worth watching, Mitch?
Us?
Yes. So how can you find out a little bit more about some of our other shows? Because did you know that looking at the analytics, 70% of our viewers haven't subscribed?
You sons of bitches. Why the hell not? You know how long Ed works on these things? 8 hours, my man. 8 hours this man gives up of his life for your free entertainment. And all you have to do to say thank you is hit the subscribe button below. And you'll be notified when Ed and I go on another excellent adventure and he kisses 8 hours of his life goodbye.
That's
Why
right.
not just hit that like button and say, hey, guys, keep up the good work. And that's it, Ed. That's all I have.
That's it. That's it. So signing off for another episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. This is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Ladyhawke Halleck.
And we'll see you in nice alabaster skin you've got there, Mitch.
You like that? Look at it.
I do.
It's like Michelle Pfeiffer-esque.
It is. We'll see you next time.